Good afternoon, and welcome to Expose Yourself to Art, a program that plumbs the depths of the creative experience by inviting artists to come aboard and share with us stories about their life and about their art. My name is David Schrader, and with me always is my co-host, Linda Scheller. Come on in, Linda. Are you here? There you are.
Thanks, David.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Say, our guest today is, we've both had a very special, you might say, intimate relationship with in our past. We've both been on stage. And of course, our guest today is Vance Whitaker, who is a stage makeup artist. And I believe we have a picture of you and some of the work he's done with you. Could we see that? There it is. Oh, wow. So tell me the story here. What is this? Who are you?
I am the beggar woman in Sweeney Todd, and that's Colton Pometta, who portrayed Toby. So this was a 2006 production. Denosaurus directed it through Newman Performing Arts, and then it was performed at the West Side Theater. And the musical direction was under Daryl Lingenfelter. And thank goodness Vance was doing the makeup in blood, because it involves straight razors and blood squirting, and it's quite an ornate production, and it was just wonderful working with him.
Yeah. You look young there. How long ago was that, did you say?
That was 14 years ago.
14 years ago. That's before your hair turned gray, right? Or
yeah, apparently.
I don't know. The reason I ask is that a lot of stage makeup involves wigs. Was that a wig that you were wearing?
No, that was my hair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you, I guess you too have had an experience. Oh, there you are. Wow.
Oh, you can't see it. I just look my natural self there. But, I have worked with Vance myself many times over the years. It started out with, I believe it was in Carousel. He created me a scar to make me look like a real nasty pirate. So, no, and Vance has been, almost anyone who's been on stage in Modesto has run into Vance in some ways. So why don't we just bring him on? Let me say a few words here. For those of you who are not familiar with him, Vance Whitaker has been the resident makeup artist, wig master, and occasional special effect artist for Opera Modesto for over 30 years. He has worked with almost every stage company in the area and has done some amazing work. Hi, Vance.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Linda.
Come on.
Hi, Vance. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you remember making Linda up all those years ago?
Oh, yes. That was Sweeney Todd was really quite an interesting production.
Yeah.
We had Buck Townsend played Sweeney, and
Grace Lieberman.
Thank you. Yes, Grace Lieberman played the meat pie lady.
Mrs. Lover.
It was a great show. It was so much fun to do. It was a lot of backstage work and very, very fulfilling.
So I have lots of questions, but let's turn you over to Linda first and find out a little bit about you.
Okay.
Where do you come from?
Did you grow up in Modesto, Vance?
Yes, I did. I grew up in Modesto. I was born in Merced. My parents had a seafood restaurant at the time. This was 66 years ago. But after I was born, about 4 months later, we moved back to Modesto, where they were both living beforehand. My mother came over during the Dust Bowl from Oklahoma, and my dad came over from Oklahoma also and worked in the shipyards during World War II. After that, when a cousin of his was drafted, he went and he joined the Air Force, flew supplies to Patton, when Patton was in Germany. And they met each other at the California Ballroom in 1948.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, 46, excuse me, because 4 years later they were married, and then 4 years later I was born.
Ah,
Very nice.
But yes, I've been a Modesto all my life, Modesto boy.
Where did you go to high school?
Grace M. Davis High School. I graduated in 72. Before that, just normal, being around Modesto, the different schools, elementary schools and such.
Well, we all want to know, how did you get into makeup arts?
Okay. Well, when I was about 12, 13 years old, I found a magazine. Back then, there was a publication called Famous Monsters of Filmland, and it had different classic monsters in it: Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, the classic ones in it. And they had a sister publication called Famous Monsters of Filmland, Monster Makeup Handbook.
Hmm.
And it was written by a gentleman by the name of Dick Smith, who who contributed later on. He was the NBC makeup artist who wrote this book. And he went on to be the makeup artist in several big movies: The Exorcist, Altered States. He won the Oscar for Amadeus. But one of his biggest contributions is that he was the teacher of Rick Baker, who, if you ever saw any science fiction fantasy movie over the last 20, 30 years, that was Rick Baker who did most of those. Men in Black, all those sorts of movies. But anyway, going back to it, so he had this book, and I was fascinated by the makeups in it and how to create these things. It showed you step by step, told you kind of where to get materials. I had to scrounge and find things, and I did them on myself. I did them on friends. And then senior in high school, Davis High, I got involved in theater, realized there was other kinds of makeup rather than just fantasy creativity makeup. Started doing shows, makeup for shows, went to MJC, did makeup there. Then I went to California State Stanislaus, Cal State University, well, before it was university, Cal State Stanislaus, and got my BA in theater. And then, as I like to say, I did exactly what anybody who ever has a theater degree did. I went and I made pizzas for years.
Yes.
Became a manager of a pizza parlor, got married, had 2 kids. Then we realized my youngest son, special needs. So I stayed home while my wife was working for Save Mart in the corporate office. And then about a year or so after that, Townsend Opera, under the direction of Buck Townsend, was doing Sweeney Todd for the first time. And they couldn't figure out how to do the straight razor blades. Because in Sweeney Todd, they're what bleed. So when he slices someone's throat, it's actually coming from the razor itself. And a good friend of mine, Jane Church, who I went to MJC with, said to him, I think I know someone who's crazy enough that might know how to do that. They contacted me. I made the straight razor blades. After that, I did did the wigs for Mikado for the first time. And then after that, he did Tales of Hoffman, and I've been a member of Townsend Opera ever since, or Opera Modesto now.
For just a second, you majored in theater.
Yes.
You've been around theater all your life. Has it always been through makeup, backstage? Have you ever acted?
Yes, I've acted several times. High school, I did On Borrowed Time. I played Death. I was one male chorus in Sound of Music for Paul Tischer in Modesto Youth Theater at the time. Now it's Modesto Performing Arts. Male chorus, we have one word that we sing, good night, and that's it.
So were you tempted to go out on the stage instead of working backstage?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Tempted to go into acting yourself?
I enjoy it. enjoy acting quite a bit. I prefer to be backstage because I know what I'm really, really good at. Acting is fun. I've always been kind of a show off on that sort of thing. Last year, last summer, or no, actually the winter time, I played the toy maker for Modesto Performing Arts for Babes in Toyland. And earlier this year, I played, and actually the last show done at the Gallo, I played Mr. Lawrence for Little Women.
Ah, okay.
And I've just been cast last night talking to Jack Souza. I'm going to be the old gentleman in Rhinoceros.
Oh, right. Oh, I've got to see that. I've never seen you on stage. As many times as we've been in contact, I've never seen that. I'm sorry I interrupted your flow.
It's all right.
You were
No,
telling me about
No,
your
that's fine. That's good questions. Yeah.
And
So
we,
I've been doing productions for mostly Townsend Opera, now Opera Modesto. I've done for when Paul Tischer, the first time he did Cabaret, he came to me and asked if I could do the tattoos for him, and they're doing the newer version of Cabaret. So it was the heroin chic look, they called it, pale face, sunken eyes, tattoos on the bodies, just very sleazy looking nightclub workers. So I had fun with that.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, so you worked mostly with Townsend Opera, but you've also worked with almost every other company in the area. That's true, right? Mostly around the special effects.
Special effects, makeup, yeah. For Prospect, I've done a couple of special things for them. A lot of some blood work, and one that I'm really pleased about, and I'm sure we'll get to the pictures later, of Seascape, where I did the two actors as being giant lizards.
Yeah, I was impressed with that. I did see that.
Good.
You mentioned blood.
Mm-hmm.
In a previous conversation we had, you had mentioned that blood and gore is some of the most common types of makeup that you're asked to do.
Well, 90% of what I do makeup wise is what's called straight makeup. It's just foundation, rouge, eyes, and lips so that the actor can be seen from the stage. Because that's really what I'm there for, to make sure they're seen. Then after that comes the blood and bruises work. I get a lot of that. Someone who's beaten up on stage, someone who's got a cut, someone who's been abused or something like that. Then after that, there's a lot of wig work that's done because you maybe have an actor who's not in the right time period or not in the right, not quite the look that the director wants. I've had blonde actors who've had to have black hair. I've had young people who have to have old gray hair. It varies from character to character and from director to director, whatever they want.
Yeah,
and then after that, when I'm lucky, I get to do the fantasy makeups.
Okay.
Those are kind of few and far between, but they're very satisfying at times.
In your bio, you mentioned that you're a wig master. Tell us about wigs.
Well, okay, that comes from in 76 and 77, I worked down at PCPA, the Pacific Conservatory for the Performing Arts. The first year I worked there in 76, I was the assistant wig master. And what that involves is we would do 6 shows in repertory during the summer. And we did anything from All Wilderness to Romeo and Juliet. All Wilderness, being a period of an 1880 period, was very, straight lace and whatever. And the Romeo and Juliet that we did was done Italian Renaissance period. So we had a lot of Prince Valiant haircuts for the men. So bangs in front and long hair. And I had to have a whole slew of like about 8 or 10 of those wigs. Then I've did As You Like It, which was done in Napoleonic period. So I had the women with the hair back and the buns on the side of their hair and one in the back. And so very, very elegant looking and very straight laced. And then I had done Wild Hair. We did Candide for the very first time. We had in Candide, there's 3 gentlemen who come after one of the women, and we had them looking like the Three Stooges. So I had long hair, a wild hair, and then I had to put a bald cap on one gentleman who played the curly kind of character. So yeah, hair is just another way to create a character, to emphasize what they look like and what they're supposed to look like.
So how do you learn to be a wig master? Is that just by doing it?
Well, it was more like the company had an incredible collection of wigs. I'm sure they still do. But because they went on different actors, they had to be cleaned, they had to be redressed, which means recombed and fit exactly the way they look like. And usually they had a ventilated front. That's the very thin netting that goes in front that's glued down. So it looks like the hair is actually growing out of the actor's head. So you have to clean that because of the spirit gum or the glue that you use to put it down every night. My other jobs was making specialty mustaches, beards, sideburns, eyebrows for the different actors. We did Man of La Mancha down in PCPA, and I had to do eyebrows for our Don Quixote.
Okay. Now, your beard and mustache, that's natural?
Yes, this is all me.
I was going to ask you, I thought maybe you'd take it off and reveal
No.
it. Okay.
Although I do like to tease cashiers sometimes when I'm buying alcohol, I'd say, really, I'm actually an 18-year-old in a really good makeup job.
So, did you have any more questions, Linda, before we move on to the...
No, I'd love to see these pictures.
Yeah,
okay.
why don't we move on to see some of your art? Because it truly is an art. And
Yeah.
it's an interesting art because I believe you've used the word in the past, ephemeral.
Ethereal, or yeah, it's makeup. Okay, so I'm going to pontificate for a moment here.
Okay.
I've always felt makeup is one of those very transitory sort of art forms. It's especially stage. It is seen one time, that exact way, in that one moment on stage. Whatever I do, it goes on the actor or actress. They go out, they perform, they use the makeup to help solidify their character. They come on stage, they wipe it off, it's gone. It's never exactly the same. You know, as much as I try to be exactly the same, it'll never be that moment again. And I've kind of likened it to sometimes like the Tibetan monks who do the sand paintings. It's there for as long as it is needed, and it's gone. And I kind of like that idea.
All right, so it fits you. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, why don't we take a look at some of these? You brought a bunch of pictures. Why don't we take a look at some of the art? Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
That's Lisa Davila. Davila. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's from La Boheme back in 2013.
Okay.
She played a wealthy socialite lady who was, very sophisticated, and of course, being an opera, towards the end, La Boheme, she's dying of, in the original production, I think it was consumption, because we were both being socially relevant, we made it to where she was dying of AIDS. And that's in the next picture is the second act. Same production, just as I had her looking wan and pasty and looking, you know,
Oh,
close to death.
Okay.
what a difference.
So,
Yes.
what's next?
Okay, next, this is TJ. I'm sorry, I don't remember his last name. He was our beast in Yes Company's production of Beauty and the Beast.
Ah, okay.
What I've got here is it's a progression shot. This is the doing the top piece, the first top piece of his face.
How do you do that?
Um,
What is that?
well, I'm sorry, what?
What kind of material is that you use to?
That is a foam latex piece.
Uh-huh.
Now, I did not make this piece myself. There is a company that actually produces these for people, but I had to take it. I had to do the hair for it, color it, and decide how I wanted to look on the actor's face.
Okay.
Next shot is with the lower piece, the jaw and the teeth. That's so that it's glued on the front of the jaw so that the singer, so he can actually sing the production. You see up on top there, he's got his microphone
Oh,
set.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The little black thing up there, it's his mic. So that when he sings, he sings. I put the chin piece goes on, then I put another fur underneath that,
Whoa.
and then
Yeah.
that's with the full makeup on. The wig that had horns embedded in it, attached to him, pinned on. And then the next shot should be, yes, him and me standing together. And that's how he looked before going on stage.
Wow, that's impressive.
it is. It's really amazing.
It is. Yeah. Wow.
And I don't know who the old guy is with him, but
No, but it's a good illustration of how important what you do is for creating a character on stage. It's almost like the actor can let the makeup and costumes speak for itself.
Well, they can use that. I mean, there's some people who will use it as a springboard for their character. I'm always glad to be able to help doing that. This is Marty Cox during a production of Christmas Carol, where he played Marley, Jacob Marley.
Uh-huh.
This was
That's
back
scary.
in 2017. Oh, there it is. That's a still shot done with him and Carl Bingston, who played Scrooge at that time.
Uh-huh.
And Marty's makeup is, if we go back one to Marty's makeup, I want to point something out. Okay, so why does it look so stark? Why does it look so exaggerated? Because it was done in a very dark lighting. And when you're doing some sort of character makeup like this, you want it to be seen through something like that, through the darkness. It's also a lot of times makeup for something like this has to be wildly exaggerated because you're dealing with the middle of the house of an audience, and that's usually about 40 feet away. So the people behind that seat has to be able to see, and the people in front see a little bit clearer, but you have to kind of like hit the medium range of seats in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a lot different than, let's say, if you were doing makeup for a movie or stream.
Oh, yes. Yeah, makeup for a movie, it's much more subtle. It's much more delicate. You just have to, you barely put makeup on, or I mean, you put makeup on, but it has to match exactly the person's skin tone.
Okay.
Okay, so the next shot. This is Eric Box. He's this was down in Merced at Merced Civic Theater. They did a original production called Dogs, or My Life as a Dog. And Eric, I had another picture before this. It looks like we missed it. of him without the makeup on.
Uh-huh.
But the whole production, and he wrote it and wrote the music too. He's very talented, and I still think he's still doing productions down in Merced. It was about dogs in a pet shop and a pound and what they were going through. So I had a whole menagerie of dogs. I had a pit bull, a Pomeranian, a poodle. There was the sassy Siamese cat who would tease the dogs. There was a dachshund. Uh, and so Eric himself was the German Shepherd,
Uh-huh.
which is what this one. And the next shot shows a cast picture, all the different.
There's all the different.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
and
Wow.
some young guy in the middle. I don't know who he is, but he sort of showed up.
Wow. So you created all these.
Yes, and this was one of the most satisfying for me because I got to actually design the makeups. I don't get to do an awful lot. Usually 90% of the time I'm doing whatever a director wants or suggests or what has been done before. They say they want a variation like that. But I really liked doing this production. It was just so much fun.
Yeah. I'm glad you have pictures too, because as you say, this ethereal quality to your art, it disappears. It's.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shows I've done in the past that I don't have any real record of except for my memories. So yeah, you can see in the back there, you can see there's Eric, and next to him
Yes.
on his right, there's the poodle with the
Uh-huh.
white afro. That was really fun to do. And next to him on the other side is a pit bull. Then we got your Pomeranian. We have the one with the red cap was just a mutt,
Yeah.
little mutt dog.
Mutt dog. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see that.
Lady in blue was a Labrador retriever, and
Ah,
yeah.
great.
Okay, so next, this is Jimmy Gonzalez. He was our Fagin in Oliver back in 2017 with Modesto Performing Arts. That was just a shot before and then shot after as Fagin. Partial bald cap, lightened his mustache up, gave him real heavy lines and a sick look for Fagin.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
A little bit of age. One from column A, column B, a
Uh-huh.
little bit of this, that.
Okay.
Okay, and the next shot, this is a series of pictures of something I did for myself. This is a prosthetic piece that I made. At this time, I was starting to learn about silicone, which can be used for making prosthetic pieces or pieces that are glued on the skin, like say to give you a nose or a chin or face or whatever you want. This is a character from a series of books called the Discworld series, written by Terry Pratchett. It is an Igor character. Igor, like the classic one you think of when you think of Frankenstein's monster
Uh-huh.
and Frankenstein. Well, in this particular series of books, the Igors are like the surgeons of the world, but they do talk with the Boris Karloff lisp, and they do not try surgery on anybody that they don't try on themselves, literally. So that's why you see the scars and the stitches all over the character.
Mm.
And the next shot will be myself with the makeup on,
Oh my
Uh-huh.
God.
in costume.
Wow.
Went to, there was a convention in Phoenix, Arizona, the Discworld convention that I went to in 2009 with this makeup on.
Oh, you did.
Yes.
Oh,
And
good.
next shot. And that's myself and one of the other participants of the convention. She played a female Igor, or known as an Igorina. Now, check out my left hand holding the jar in front. How many fingers do you see?
Oh, wow.
A
Oh,
lot.
let's see.
6.
12?
No, there are 6 there.
There's 6.
Okay.
I made an extra thumb for myself because that's what one of the characters in the book has. An extra thumb to help them out. It's very silly, I know. I really wanted to play with this makeup. And the next couple of series of shots of me removing it after the contest, because it was a makeup contest, I won journeyman makeup for in first place, and I was really pleased at that.
Well,
But
congratulations.
thank you. As me, I took the wig off and started removing the makeup, and I call this my Mission Impossible pictures.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
I know, and I had so much fun doing that because that was one of my influences too. When I was a kid, the original Mission Impossible, watching that makeup being removed. I know that they did fake shots, but the very first one actually had the actor in makeup. That was Martin Landau as the makeup artist character. He was removed the whole makeup, and then later on they did what's called a makeup cheat. They just bent down and
Right.
did a camera turned away, and then they see them throwing off the mask onto the floor or whatever. Because that movie, that TV series influenced me, and there's a movie out there called The List of Adrian Messenger. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's an old black and white, done in the 50s, but it has Kirk Douglas, George C. Scott, Tony Curtis, uh, a lot of Frank Sinatra's in it, several famous people. And the thing about it was that it was an actor who was trying to gain this inheritance. And so he used this makeup. That was Kirk Douglas. And in this movie, he's wearing 6 different individual makeups where you can't really tell it's Kirk Douglas until he reveals himself to the family since he's killed off so many other people. But the big hook for the movie was that all the different stars who were in it were hidden under heavy makeup, and you had to guess who was who. At the end of the movie, then they showed you who had played who in the run of the film. And that was a big influence on me. Watching that as probably about an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, I'm going like, I wanted to be able to do that. And to me, doing this makeup was like a fulfillment of that desire.
Right.
50 years later.
Is there another one of you here, or is this the last one in that series?
There's one more. This one was me in a pose shot for everybody. I got quite a few pictures taken of me at the time when the people were at the convention.
That's an impressive piece of work.
Thank you. I really
It's amazing.
I really put myself into that, you might say.
Yeah.
Okay, so who we have next? Yes. Now this is Jeremy Stoles.
I recognize him. Yeah.
Yep. It's from the same production that your picture came from, The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
Yeah, and this is a establishing shot that I took of him so I could get his skin toned down and his features. Next shot, please. And this is he putting a ball cap on him. See, what I did for Jeremy was in the production, he has his head cut off by a guillotine on stage. So we decided we wanted to do that. So I took Jeremy, next shot, please, and I made a mold of his head and face. That's done by, first you put alginate, which is a kind of a gelatin-like substance, and it dries on your head and your face. Then you put plaster bandages on to give it some sort of rigidity. Take that off, and you've got a negative space of the actor's head and face.
Wow.
Then I poured expanding foam into that, colored it, put a wig on top. Next shot, please. And that's Jeremy's head.
Ooh.
Wow.
Looks like it has been guillotined.
Yeah, I think it was after, not before the shot was. Next shot shows you a side shot of the same thing. And what we did, we stuck it through the guillotine with his head facing down. See, he's put on the back. The guillotine is facing the audience, where he goes to get behind the guillotine. He puts the head through, and it's a styrofoam stick, so that when the guillotine comes down, it chops the head off completely
Oh.
into the basket. And then he jumps up and says, "Ha ha! It was all a trick." And next shot, please.
I remember.
Yeah.
Ah,
And there's Jeremy holding his own head.
yeah. And Jeremy has gone on to fame and fortune in New York.
Yes, he has. He was an understudy, and now he is the Phantom, or Phantom in the opera in New York. Of course, right now everything's kind of closed down, but
Right. So one
I
of
know
the
he comes back to Modesto every once in a while and does a little lecture tour thing.
okay.
All right. Next shot is, and there's you.
Oh, there's me. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And there is Dwight.
Dwight.
Dwight, yes. This is from The King and I.
Uh,
Let me check my note here.
so this he's
2011 for Modesto Performing Arts.
at this point, or is this not his natural state? Is it?
No, it was it was he shaved his head for this,
Okay.
which was nice. I didn't have to worry about a bald cap for him, but making sure that I match his skin tone and a little bit of the highlights for him because he was the king.
Uh-huh.
He
So
reprised,
I'm sorry, what?
well, he reprised this role in Newman, and I
Ah.
was Anna, and that's how he and I met.
Mm,
So-
yes, I remember too.
oh,
Okay. This is Curtis Nelson.
oh,
I've done Curtis several times. Modesto Performing Arts, yes, did a production of Beauty and the Beast way back in the 2000, I don't know, 3, 4, something like that. I did him as Beast then. This is him as Don Quixote
right.
in the 2014 version that Paul did, Performing Arts.
Uh-huh.
I provided the eyebrows for him, the mustache, the beard, worked with him on the makeup, highlighting his hair and all. Next shot is Don Bradley, who I've done Don several times too. This is him as Sancho. I made him look a little chubbier with the lining of the chin and around the jowl lines, brightened his eyes up, chubbier cheeks,
Uh-huh.
so he's all nice and bouncy looking. And the next shot is Krista Joy Serpa. She was our Aldonza,
Ah, okay.
and yeah, I loved her this way. This was just a basic makeup before going into doing publicity shots. I loved her hair this way, but Paul decided he'd rather have Aldonza with dark hair, and that's the next shot we have. And there's a shot of what a wig can do for a character. This is also after Aldonza's been beaten up and attacked by the muleteers in the show. So this is where you see some of my grisly work. She has bruises all over her, the bruise on the cheek, a little bit of blood smear around the lips, um, scrapes and scars, all done on her. I, I've I fortunately have an understanding wife because I have a lot of pictures of women on my shots that is just because of hair and blood and stuff. I also worry sometimes that I'm going to be under suspect by the FBI or something because of all the different violent looking pictures I have. Honestly, it's just research, guys.
Sure. Okay.
Next shot. Now, I have done makeup. It's been a year and a half since I've actually been able to do this, but there is a LARP, a live action role playing group in the Bay Area that I do makeup for, or have done in the past for. And they are an interesting group of people, become quite good friends with some of them. I do the NPCs, or the non-playing characters. I do a lot of the monsters, or sometimes I'm asked to do fays or fairies or ogres, trolls, goblins, skeletons, patchwork monsters. This one is actually my son, Joshua, my oldest, who he got me into this. He came back when he was 17, went with some friends to his first one, came back and said, Dad, they don't really have anybody doing their makeup for them. You should come. I said, well, I thought to myself, my son asked me to come and do something with him. I'm not going to turn that down.
Oh,
So the next month I went up and I did some makeup for them, and they asked me to come back. And for about a good 10 years, I went up about every month or every other month and did makeup for the LARP. So this is kind of an example of some of the pieces that I did, the next 4 or 5. This is Katie. She was a tiger changed woman involved in the story at the time. Next one is Ralph. He was one of the patchwork characters, like he'd been sewn together from different creatures and different people.
right.
And I had several of these that attacked the townsfolk. Part of what they do is they have the monsters that attack townspeople, and the townspeople fight them off, and then you win the battle, and you go off and you celebrate, and then other monsters and things come and attack, or you have different interaction with different creatures. Next one is another example of someone who has been beaten and tortured. This was Julie. She
Doesn't look good.
no, she was kidnapped by a gang of thugs, I believe, for this particular one. And that is all makeup.
Very
I guarantee.
Very realistic. I'm glad you said
And this was a young lady, name escapes me at the moment, who played a fawn character.
Uh-huh.
Horns and the basic makeup to make her look, deer-like.
Very nice. Very interesting.
Next one is another shot of Don Bradley. This one has Coco from The Mikado, the more recent production that Townsend Opera did. That was in 2012. I put a bald cap on him and used a little hairpiece on the top to give him that little top-notch look, an exaggerated kabuki-style makeup for his face.
Uh-huh.
Next shot is the actress who was Katasha in The Mikado, and I'm really sorry, I don't remember her name, and I don't have it with me. So I apologize for that, because I always like to try to give people credit when I actually do know who they are. But this was another example of the kabuki-style makeup used for The Mikado at that time.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Next shot is example piece. Modesto Rotary Club 2 years ago in October did a fundraiser. They called it Franks and Stein, where they had beer and hot dogs. But to help promote it and sell it at the time, they wanted a Frankenstein monster. So they had a very tall gentleman I made a headpiece for. And next shot, please. That's the makeup I did for him, did on him. And he really is, he's about 6'4".
Ooh.
Again, I don't remember the gentleman's name. I'm sorry for that.
Give us nightmares.
Yes. I also, with him was also his arms and hands were made up.
Uh-huh.
So he was green all the way around. And I used a spray sealer on the back of his hands, on his palms of his hands, so he could
Bolts
eat.
in his neck.
Bolts in his neck,
Okay.
and a smile on his face. Next shot is of Allison Collins from Mansfield Park. This was earlier this year, 2020. She played the old lady I don't remember the name of the character, quite honestly, but we worked on her and gave her old age makeup. With it was a really nice production. The next couple of the next shot is from the race. That's the one that we just got done filming, which should be available for viewing sometime in March this upcoming year. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't really know yet.
We don't know.
But it's being edited and cut and fixed now because we just finished filming what 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and he's playing the wolf. The race is all the Aesop's fables, the different stories set to music, and this is the one that was the wolf and the sheep, and so he had to have a lean and kind of grungy, dirty wolf look.
Grungy, yeah.
All the it was a good production. I didn't really do an awful lot for it except make sure that everyone was powdered down properly so they wouldn't shine. We were kind of like we were outside and doing a lot. All the filming was done outside. It was all we're all very safe. We took care of ourselves, but his was the most elaborate of the makeups that I did.
And these were all young people too.
Very young people, yes. It was for part of the Summer Opera Institute for Opera Modesto. Next shot is Ashley Darlene from Carmen. This was 2017's production of Carmen. She's the one who had the fight with Carmen in the tobacco shop, and she gets scratched, and so she goes back on stage. She came off stage, goes back on stage with these huge scratches on her face. Again, something subtle. Next shot, please. This is from Billy Elliot, Modesto Performing Arts. It's a gentleman who, I don't remember his name either, I'm sorry, but he plays Elliot's uncle who gets into a fight, a big Irish brawl. So he is beaten up and goes back on stage like this, wiping his face with the rag and how he got beat up. And sometimes what I do, next shot please, is just sometimes I will provide a red wig for a little girl who's playing Annie. And this is from Modesto Performing Arts production of Annie, of course, a few years ago. Had to get it,
Right.
make sure it was on her, make sure it was secure.
You
and
have to have a red wig for Annie.
have a red wig for Annie. Okay, so the next couple of shots are of Curtis Nelson. It's a progressive shot, so we'll just kind of go through these a little quickly. This is Curtis beforehand. This is for when he did Peter Pan for MPA back in 2007, and this is him as Captain Hook. He went from playing Mr. Darling. Next shot, please. I had darkened his beard and mustache, put a wig on him, so it all looked nice and neat, playing the father, Mr. Darling. Then he came off stage. I took that wig off of him. Next shot, please. Started making elaborate makeup for Hook. Now, because it was a fantasy, a kid's fantasy, we decided to go with something a little really elaborate for him, to make him say, this is the villain. So I did the highlight like such, red. I glued a mustache over the top of his mustache, and I added a little what I call the Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean hair pieces on his beard. So it looked really cute and had little ribbons on the end of it. Next shot, please. And that's with the Louis XVI wig on top, giving him more of that sinister, elaborate Captain Hook look. And then the final shot of him in full costume and makeup as Captain Hook.
Oh, impressive. So you have to do this during the show every night, is that?
Yes, every night we had to do that during the show, so that when he came on stage in the second act as Hook, there he was.
Okay, so you had the intermission.
Yes, that helped a great deal.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, this looked kind of elaborate, like you'd have to work pretty fast to put all this together.
Yeah, I have learned over you do it a few times and you learn how to do things pretty quickly, especially depending on what the makeup. And since I just had to concentrate on him and what he had to look like,
Uh,
that was that. Next shot, please. This is the mask from Rigoletto that Townsend Opera did recently. Actually, this was the prototype. I showed Roy Stevens, who was playing Rigoletto. I said, this is kind of the idea of the makeup, what I want us to do. And there's Roy in makeup as Rigoletto, and his gestures stuff that I actually made that for him. He was unable to use it in the show, but I was able to make that for him so that he had a little
Nice.
carrier. Next shot. Sometimes, as well as makeups, I'll do masks or pieces, and these are all masks that I decorated and painted and made for Rigoletto for the opening scene, which was in a party scene.
uh-huh.
Up there, the white mask in the upper left is the Rigoletto mask finished that he wore. And the next shot will show the king and Rigoletto conversing with each other
Uh-huh.
at the party.
I saw this production and I was impressed with how much the masks added to the character. It was in many ways a minimalist production. And
Yes.
so, putting the masks on made the characters. It was very, very good.
Okay. Okay. Next shot is infamous lizards. Well, actually, just one. This is David Hambley, who played the male wizard, lizard, not wizard. This is establishment shot. This is him starting to get ready for the makeup. I was very fortunate for this one. Jack Souza directed it. Jack and I talked about it, and I also designed and made the costumes that the lizards wore. It was a unitard that I added pieces to, and I hand airbrushed on the scales all over the bodies of the two. So this is the first shot. The second shot is progression of it, and this was me trying out saying, okay, this is good. I need to make the circles a little bit darker so it's actually seen better. That was this shot. And then the next shot will show him and Mary as the two lizards together as they were a publicity shot on stage. They both had long tails in the back that they had to move around with and crawl around on the floor with.
I saw that production too. Another very, impressive.
Good. Oh, thank you. And we're coming down to the end of this now. This is Jack Souza did Murder on the Orient Express in 2019. He contacted me and said, Vance, I'd really like to have a little something extra for this show. I want to do something better because he's playing Hercule Poirot. Now, the character Poirot in the Agatha Christie novels is known for one main thing, and that's his mustache, or his mustaches, as he calls them. Very elaborate, very pretty, very almost pompous in some ways. But Jack also said he wanted a little something extra for his face because he was feeling something to help the character. So I took a mold of Jack's face, and next shot, I made a nose for him, but not a nose that went all over his nose, just a nose tip. The next shot will show the mustache almost completely finished. See, this is what I meant by being able to make mustaches and beards and stuff. This is a ventilated mustache piece. And what that means is you take netting and hair and using a very tiny, almost like a crochet hook, you carefully knot each hair onto the netting. And that's how you make a mustache or a beard or the front of a wig where it looks realistic. This is it almost completed. Next shot is a first test of Jack with the nose tip, just to see how it fit. Same with this one. It's more from the front. Then a shot of him with the mustache, more closer to the skin tone. And
Oh,
these are all of this. And the next is a publicity shot of Jack as the character of Hercule Poirot.
bravo.
Remarkable. What a
We
transformation.
have one more shot. Or is it?
Excellent.
Yeah, there he is.
Mm.
Excellent. Excellent job. And we've come to the end of the pictures and we're coming to the
Yeah.
end of the show. And
Right.
after all this wonderful, insightful discussion, we're going to finish up with some frivolity.
Okay.
Okay. We always try to end with this little silly bit. A few questions for you.
All right. I'll try to answer them.
Off the
Vance,
top of your head.
what sound do you like best?
My wife's snoring.
Oh,
Oh.
all right.
No, it's very comforting and very sweet.
I think
What,
that's a
what sound do you like least?
Spitting.
Okay.
Answer. What is your favorite animal and why?
Well, I'd say probably a cat. Just I seem to they get me. I relate to them more, I think, in attitude and just temperament. Especially the cats I've had have always been very calm and flappable about things.
So, if you weren't a makeup artist, what would you be?
Well, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a scientist.
Any special type?
Research. It just the whole aspect of science just fascinated me when I was a kid.
Okay.
What's your go-to food?
Roast.
Mm.
Gross.
Mhm.
So this is a simple one. What is it that motivates you? Fame, love, or money?
Can't say yes. Um, well, it's not necessarily fame. And I'm in theater, so money's out of the question. So I guess it'd be love.
Yeah, it's a default answer there. Okay.
What do you frequently dream about?
Oh, heavens. I don't dream as much as I used to when I was younger, but I think about is whatever the next project is.
Okay. Well, we're getting to the end, so this will be the last one.
Okay.
What's it going to say on your tombstone?
Um, um, he did his best.
Okay. Well, thank you, Vance. It's been interesting, informative, unique, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You
Just
know, and it's nice to get to know you in a little bit different way than sitting underneath your makeup attention. Let's put it that way. So,
Well, hopefully we'll be doing it again.
oh yeah. So anyway, thanks for being here. Those of you who are watching, next week we will have on Linda Knoll, our backstage person, talking about a magazine that she has created. So until then, thanks for tuning in. Nice seeing you. See you next time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.